Well, a few years ago, there was a significant change in terms of your order books. You divested a few businesses. What was the order book back then, or the composition of the order book back then? How is it looking now? And there would have been a significant change even as far as the revenues were concerned. So have you managed to recoup all of that, or what percentage have you managed to recoup?
I'm glad you asked this question. Our books at that time, I think that was December 2018 when we decided that we let the power grid business be part of another corporation who can take it forward. At that time, our books were 10,000 crore plus. And we divested not only power grid business, we also divested the solar inverter business and few others which were not part of our core for the future. And we may have divested about 40 to 45% of our revenues. I am glad to tell you that last year we recouped in terms of orders all the divestment we had done in our books, and hopefully this year we will also show that in revenues. So within a period of 3 years, we could recoup almost 40-45% of our divestment back in the volume. And our current portfolio, I think it is really very about 70% is our products and a mix of products as well as ETO business, which is engineer to order, about 15% in our services, and balance is in the projects business today.
Just to add to what Sanjeev was mentioning, this was despite the fact that we had 2 years of COVID in between, which was a disrupted year for 2 years, right? So I would say we did a bit of a solid comeback on that.
That's a remarkable achievement. I'm now going to throw a few terms at you. I want you to give me in depth the opportunities you see for ABB India. Number 1, PLI, everyone's talking about it. Number 2, Make in India. Number 3, energy transition. And number 4, railway capex. We believe you do have a presence in all of these verticals. Give us a sense of kind of traction that you're seeing from each vertical.
So one thing we recognize is that every country's growth story gets built into layers. And year on year, India has been developing more and more solid layers on top of it. Like for example, railways deciding that they want to go all electric in the country. So that means the big electrification boost came for electrifying the tracks. Also then the engines that will be produced, the way the passenger trains will be produced, the whole paradigm shift took place, and that's a kind of a impetus you require in a particular market segment for it to create new opportunities. So that's where the new opportunities got created for us, and we are now a significant partner in all the metros which are running across the country, and also substantial exposure to the railway orders, be it comes to the locomotives, electric locomotives, or it comes into the the passenger cars or the new generation passenger trains which are being produced. So that's one example. So it's a big layer which has been added, and it will have a multi-year impact on businesses like us. The other area like PLI, we don't participate in PLI scheme, but we participate indirectly. Most of our customers, they are taking benefit of PLI, and they have seen a big upsurge in terms of production capacities, and also their need to automate, robotize, as well as put a lot of automation in producing products at a very high productive rate. Be it in electronics manufacturing, it could be in food and beverage, it is even in the water segment, and there are a number of segments which are being impacted in this area. We see indirect benefit of our portfolio in the robotics automation, electrification, motion, which is the energy efficiency, and process automation, which does the core automation. So all of these sectors are getting a positive impact on our portfolio.
What about Make in India? Would you be transitioning any portion of your business back to India?
Make in India makes a lot of sense, not only for India as a country, because that makes our supply chains more resilient in the country. It also makes a lot of sense for multinational corporations like us. India is a very competitive market. So if we want our 18 divisions to be very competitive and continue to grow and also gain market share, it is part of our core strategy to continue to localize at a very fast rate. And that's what we have been doing for last many years. Many of our product lines are 100% localized, and some of them are 80% localized. Some of them have some kind of electronics, like say power electronics, wherein the supply chain locally is not developed. So that's something we hope in future with the PLI schemes, more and more players come, set up the supply chain, and we are able to even localize it. Other part is that more you localize, your dependency on the FX part, foreign exchange part goes down. And if that goes down, your price stability to the market it becomes even better, given that rupee has a tendency to depreciate versus the other major currencies where you import. So it's a good impact.
Just to connect to what Sanjeev was mentioning, I think that is one of the key drivers for us if we want to be competitive, focus on localization, and that takes back to the question of how do you maintain the margins going forward. That's one of the key ingredients for us. That if we want to do the double digit on the PAT, it is quite essential that we keep focusing on this localization as an important ingredient for the success.
And hopefully no more disruption because of other countries facing production issues as well.
I think that is in past, and also I must say I must commend our global supply chain management team. They always had a very distributed supply chain across the globe, and I think even during the peak of stress in the supply chain, I think we managed our incoming supplies, our allocation of supplies, and also our commitment to customers quite well.
I'm going to ask you a couple of tough questions, and I hope you can give me answers to them.
Answers.
Number one, CapEx for the rest of the year, and hopefully for CY24 as well. Number two, you've spoken about expansion, both organic as well as inorganic. Have you zeroed in on any targets, inorganic expansion wise? And what kind of business would you look to acquire to increase visibility in terms of order wins?
Okay, so I answer the first question, but I give a color on the second, but more will be given by Sanjeev, right, on the inorganic options. I think organic options is something which we are continuously doing, right? So on an average, we do almost 200 to 250 crores of expansions in different forms, be it in terms of research, in terms of capacity expansions, also in terms of modernizing the factories and the offices is something we keep continuously doing it. And that will remain. That's number one. Number two, we also do have 4,000 crores of cash on the balance sheet, and it's always important that we put to use which gives us better returns than being in the banks which earn a normal return. Right? And so our options to look at it from the inorganic side of it is also an ongoing action from our side. So Sanjeev, would you like to throw something else?
Any targets you zeroed in on?
So we have 18 businesses, and the way ABB operate, we have a program called, or a kind of a culture called ABB Way, wherein we have empowered all our global divisions and local divisions to look for targets which are the bolt-on targets for their existing business models, so that that can deliver even more value for our customers. So that's where we have the targets being scanned globally, and many of them have already come into ABB fold. We are also scanning a lot of targets locally, but it must make sense to the business model that that particular division holds, so that it can have a bolt-on value add possibility for the customer. And we see quite a few targets which we are talking. Of course, you could be a willing buyer, but you should also have a willing seller on the other side. So that's the kind of a process which could last for 1 year, or it could also last for 10 years. So I think we are here for long in India. So we'll continue to consolidate our portfolio that makes sense for our customers. The other part about the about ABB story is that when you look at the overall portfolio that we have, the customers, the market segment which are smaller today, they will become medium size, and the medium size will become large as we go in the expanding economy. And I think that's where again the customer behavior changes when they start moving from one sphere to the other. Their need to buy more reliable, more available products, I think that becomes much stronger. That's another shift we are seeing in the market. The customers who would buy, say, tier 2 products, they have moving to tier 1 suppliers like us, and that's where another expansion that is taking place for us. So these are the kind of few of the mixes that we see which is happening in the marketplace. And on the organic side of expansion, one thing we have experienced in the last few years, that India should not be seen as a so-called low-cost labor market. I think that arbitrage is available to us because of where we are in the so-called arch of progress of this country relative to the other nations. But what is more important is, apart from that, we are really investing on the high productivity side of our shop floors. So we are investing a lot of automation, a lot of robotics in our shop floors. So you take advantage of labor arbitrage plus also productivity arbitrage within this country.
So both organic as well as inorganic plans, talks are on. We are waiting for more details from your end, and hopefully something fructifies soon. Lastly,
before you ask, it's a very interesting from a CFO standpoint, right? So when we started this journey for 3 to 4 years before, when we had the divestments on, that was a time when we are required to manage our cash to fund the operations. But today I think we have come to a position where we're able to look at options which are used to, how to use this cash on hand. So it's an interesting journey what we have traversed over the last 3 to 4 years.
In that context, any plans of returning cash back to shareholders, any special dividends, buybacks on the horizon?
So we did start our journey just now with by declaring the dividend of 275%. I think it all depends on how we start to build the cash and reward the shareholders. So that's definitely one of the options what we always look at.
Last question from our end. You've spoken a lot about sustainability, even in the campus. You've made sure that everything works on renewable energy. Give us a sense of what ABB is doing in India to ensure that the emissions as well as your carbon footprint is very low.
We took upon this on ourselves that we look into sustainability not because it's a fashionable thing to talk about. We as a management team as well as all our colleagues who participate in all our locations, we took it upon that it is the right thing to do. So that's our focus, because consuming less water than necessary, I think that's the right thing to do. Using renewable energy, that's the right thing to do. Sending less waste to the landfill is the right thing to do. Putting more water in the ground than you consume, you become a water positive location, that's the right thing to do. Become zero plastic usage in your location, that's the right thing to do. So that's how our journey started, and we are very pleased to tell you that almost in 2 years' time, our operations, all of our operations across the country, 27 factories are running on 100% renewable energy. We have 97% recyclability of the waste, and we want to be zero waste to landfill company by 2026. I think that's what we are working on. We have 2 locations out of 5 which have become water positive. That means we put more water in the ground than we take it out. We have the zero plastic policy applied in all our locations and our factories, and we have many other elements which we continue to run as a very, very focused activity. And this is something not at the management level, it is really at all the employee level. If you go across the plants, you talk to the employees, they really understand and they embrace that part. So that's the journey we will continue. And apart from that, what we find what is important is that most of our customers, when they see us following it, our suppliers are interested. So we are including our suppliers also in that journey. And most of our customers, when we speak with this conviction, our products also add a lot of kind of energy efficiency to our customers, bring their kind of a sustainability journey even forward. So that's another part that we built part of our portfolio as we supply into the marketplace.
So, but I think it's a very important thing what Sanjeev was mentioning. I think ESG is one of the vital ingredients today to remain also competitive and also be relevant in the market, right? So from a CFO standpoint, I don't see ESG as a spend, but we see as an investment where businesses are able to operate in a better scale going forward. So all our investments on the ESG are more looked at ROI in terms of how they return it back to the organization. So I think it's a more healthy outlook towards how we invest for ESG.
Thank you so much for having us at your facility. It was a pleasure, and thank you so much for giving us perspective into all of your businesses.
It was really nice having you here in Bangalore.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek, for interesting questions.
Thank you.